It's no secret that autumn is an amazing time to be in New England. The brilliant displays of color put on by our deciduous forests and the abundance of visible histories layered throughout the land provide a distinctive vibe that draws visitors from around the world. Looking to make the most of this unique atmosphere, we decided to spend a day outside in Waterville Valley on the western side of the White Mountains, where we would hike a big mountain and check out the ruins of a long-abandoned ghost town in one long late October day. New Hampshire is famously home to the tallest and most rugged mountains in the Northeast. There are 48 individual peaks that exceed 4,000 feet in elevation, and summiting all of them is a very popular challenge. We completed the list in 2021, finishing on a peak called Mount Isolation on a beautiful fall day. It was an easy hike to remember, in part because it was the 21st night of September. Mount Tecumseh just barely makes this list, squeezing in on a technicality. For a long time, Tecumseh was measured at 4,003 feet above sea level, but an updated survey in 2019 declared the summit was actually 6 feet lower. Despite measuring only 3,997 feet, out of respect to tradition, it retains its place on the 4,000-footer list, ranked as the 48th highest peak in New Hampshire. Found a bunch of late fall oysters growing on this, I don't know what this is, beach? Edible mushroom, super cool. The first time we hiked it, we took a less popular route, approaching from the north, so this time we decided to approach from the east. As we climbed higher, we watched the colorful deciduous forest change into rugged taiga, a land of gnarled, short, and dense evergreens, spongy mosses, and shrubby lichens. Although well known for being the smallest of the 48, Tecumseh is even more famous as the location of Waterville Valley Ski Area, one of the largest and most beloved ski resorts in the state. For much of the climb, the hiking trails run parallel to the ski slopes, and at two different points, we got to sneak out of the woods and enjoy the sweeping views of the open slopes. One of the most interesting features of this hike is the amount of stone stairs. We counted over 1,000 individual steps and marveled at the amount of care and effort trail crews put into making this hiking route enjoyable. Popular trails like this often suffer terrible erosion as countless footsteps and frequent rain wear down and wash away soil, turning the ground into a muddy, rock and root-strewn mess. But by providing stone surfaces on which to walk, these crews have ensured this path a much longer lifespan. The first time we hiked Tecumseh, the summit was wrapped in clouds, meaning we didn't get to experience the views. So it was really nice to come back and see the landscape we missed last time. We were both shocked that we could see the summit of Mount Washington, the highest peak in New Hampshire, and a nearly 2-hour drive away. Having hiked this mountain from 2 different routes, we both preferred this way, as there are more vistas along the way, and the exceptional work of the trail crews made this hike itself much easier. When we got back to the car, we were ready for part 2 of our adventure, finding and exploring the ruins of Thornton Gore, a ghost town located a few miles from Tecumseh. Thornton Gore was founded by Matthew Thornton, a New Hampshire farmer and signer of the Declaration of Independence. It was a small farming town producing wool, maple syrup, potatoes, apples, dairy, and other quintessentially New England products. The population dropped during the Civil War, when most of the able-bodied young men left to fight, and it never rebounded. A couple of decades later, the land was bought by the timber companies who logged it, and it eventually became part of the White Mountain National Forest. There are no clear trails to the town, but looking closely, it was easy to see where the roads once ran. Within the first few minutes, we passed the stone foundations of several buildings. The graveyard was the best preserved location in Thornton Gore. Someone, perhaps the National Forest, clearly maintains the area and preventing the forest from absorbing it. There were also flowers and flags placed relatively recently at some of the graves. Most of the stones were dated back to the mid-1800s, although we saw some as old as 1814. Past the graveyard, we saw a few more building foundations, including the remains of a mill constructed at the edge of the stream. This rusted iron axle, once the center of the water wheel, was one of the most distinctive features. Seeing this beautiful little waterfall was an unexpected bonus. Finding and wandering around this long abandoned town felt like a perfect Halloween activity. When the insects and frogs stopped singing and the sound of the bare branches rattling in the wind and dried leaves crunching underfoot filled their spot in the soundscape of long, chilly nights, autumn gets real spooky. When there isn't the soft green canopy to diffuse sunlight, skeletal trees cast harsh shadows and allow sounds to travel through the woods unimpeded. Couple this with the feverish urgency of animals preparing for winter, and it's no wonder people used to think the veil between the world and the next grew thinner this time of year. But somehow, despite the spookiness, Thornton Gore, much like the rest of New England in late fall, felt very cozy and inviting. It didn't feel like a haunted ruin, but a living and growing forest with a cool collection of mementos from a more industrious past.